Alright. Hello everyone, Red here, and this is just a uh, post-upload editing review. I finished chapter 43 yesterday morning at about 3 in the morning, which is standard for me, early morning writing, and the edits were not fun to do at that time, so I didn't record, because I was really just wanting to go to bed. Anyways, I did not intend for it to be 13 days, especially after chapter 42 took like 17 days. So I really want to get my average back down to like 3 or 4 days. And so hopefully I can manage that. But I did the editing. So I was kind of talking about how things are going. I believe I'm 10 chapters into the first big arc. Things are going pretty smoothly, starting off kind of slow. Part of this chapter that took a lot of edits and rewrites was the balance beam section. Action is still quite difficult for me to write. I sort of have an ideal in my head of how it should flow. I don't want to just show cause and effect in repeat, but it's also I also don't want it to be too distracted from the action, because that can kind of ruin the pacing of it as well. So this took several sort of little rewrites and edits before I was happy with how this section looked, and the ending of the chapter overall might be a little rushed or a little sudden. And I might change a little bit of that, but overall I'm okay with it. What else? What else? Edits were fine. I just had a handful of punctuation issues, a handful of spelling issues. Not too much else. There's a ton of stuff. A lot of justs get highlighted by Grammarly, and so it's really just up to the personal preference. As always, you should not just blindly follow the advice of the editing app or service that you use. It is just a guideline for you to help make better decisions. You should trust and aim to fulfill your own goals, since Grammarly does not know what your story is going to be about overall or where you're going with it. But I got everything down pretty well, and I'm overall happy. My earbuds are about to die too, which is great. What else to say about this? So yeah, I really want to get the next chapter out quickly. Hopefully I can do that. I should be able to, unless work gets troublesome, but I don't see that happening. I am mostly better and recovered from being sick. My voice is mostly back. I'm missing some of my upper range, but it's not cutting out like it did. So that's good, at least. Developing story, though. Developing story, giving more context. I've mentioned Richter's title as like the best on Earth, like the strongest swordsman on Earth, a couple times. I don't want to be too repetitive with that. It's more just about setting the premise and then eventually delivering on it. In writing, at least for now, I believe that there are times where you should do more than just claim or like establish a premise. I think there are times where you should also show that premise and like deliver on. So in this case, I'm kind of establishing Richter as being like the best swordsman on Earth from his time back before the system came around. And, saying it is fine and all, but I think showing it and having him beat people and win in certain spars or duels is valuable, and having like one big moment be valuable and kind of really solidifying that premise. I know as being a reader, I've encountered books where they have said the premise a lot and they've established it a bunch of times and they're hammering it home. Multiple characters are saying it and all this stuff, but they never really show it or they never really deliver on it. And then, things happen and things change and the premise no longer matters as much and so on. So I'm trying to keep from just being a words only guy. I want to eventually kind of deliver on that. And so I'm hoping that I haven't gotten, too repetitive. I don't think I've mentioned it too many times. This is sort of the second, maybe the third, but I think it's like the second mostly. The other time was way back, I think when Rose broke into the dojo for the staff, but I'm not sure if I'll have to reread and make sure, check. I don't think anyone else has mentioned his title yet. Anyways, so doing that, building and establishing more characters. Last chapter, I established Nax, who is an alchemy or a talented alchemist who attends Stratel Academy, which is sort of the big academy that I've talked about so far, or at least built up to be this big academy, and more will be delivered on that eventually. Got some good old-fashioned training. Richter will sort of, it's familiar territory for Richter, at least, and that'll kind of be talked about more over time. Anything else? Anything else? Yeah, I think it was fun. I didn't want to make this balance beam section too long because it'll be done multiple times. Similar to his training with Vincent's data. I don't want to go too in depth onto every single, spar or duel with them because that just wouldn't be worth the time, and there's going to be so many of them, and potential time skips and things like that. Other characters get time in the spotlight. It's very frustrating. So I've got like 3-ish paragraphs, two full ones roughly, maybe like 3, and then things kind of start to wind down, and then it kind of ends. Actually more like 4, I guess, if I include all that. I still believe heavily in dialogue being a great change of pace for like any scene. Just having it break up monotony of like continuous information and continuous like like descriptions and actions is really helpful. So I was really happy that I included this. I think it helps a lot with this scene. I thought about giving these their own line like I usually do, but I have so many spaces already that I didn't want to do too much because scrolling continuously can be kind of boring, even though the display for webnovel is pretty generous with how much you can fit on a screen. I didn't want there to be too much. I thought that this was good enough. So yeah, I was pretty happy. I am actually thinking about changing the ending. Just a little bit. Not significantly, but like right here it's kind of sudden. Like I don't really give any like I might change this. Because there's no real segue into Blake and the gang arriving. He just kind of suddenly hears wooden stairs creaking. And it's not really said that like that like a new sound occurs or anything. It's just kind of like it happens. I'm not a huge fan of that. I might just I might mess. But I'll worry about that after I've upload the video, I guess. Anyways, that's really all I had to cover. I did my edits. I fixed a lot of the basic punctuation errors. A couple other changes. Cut out some words I didn't really care about. Doing better. I am glad though that I've kind of. I still have some issues with writing, but I've gotten over some of my old issues that I had when I first started. So I used to obsess a lot about like every little thing and worrying about having too much stuff and not being enough and not being concise enough, and that led to chapters that felt very disjointed because they switched from one thing to another so much in the effort or in the interest of trying to get like that. So I'm glad that I've sort of settled into a pace. Anyway, that's all. I am still writing though, of course. It's just sometimes I just am gone for a while, especially when I'm sick. Getting sick sucks. And work is good, but it's also pretty tiring. And I just helped my sister move out into a new house that they're leasing for the next year or so. So that was fun. But everything keeps chugging along. So hopefully I'll get some better consistency and some better chapter releases. I always feel bad when I write an author's note that, I'm gonna have more free time or I'm gonna release more often, and then I don't, and I spend like even longer gone or just as much time. It feels bad. Anyways, thanks for watching. I've been Rhett, and I'll see you in the next chapter that I edit. Oh, and also one last thing. I'm still trying to get to the rewrites for the first chapters. I have finished the first 3 rewrites, so chapters 1 through 3. I still have like 4 through 20-ish, 4 through 18 maybe, to finish and do, and those will take roughly as much time as a normal chapter because I have to decide how much needs to be changed, why it needs to be changed, what to change it to, and so on, and adjust for anything that needs to be kept for to make the story make sense and so on. So those chapters need to get done. I think that's kind of higher on the list of priorities because without those changes, it's very off. As you go from reading the first 3 chapters, which have been updated and kind of renovated, and then the chapters 4 through further are very old and don't have the same quality and can kind of be almost like a different tone. And so I'm worried that people who might try the novel encounter that big shift and get turned off of the story or get turned off from trying and so on. Anyways, now I'm done. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.